We wanted to first start this video by saying thank you. This is not the way that we're used to singing together in choirs, and it certainly is not as comfortable as it otherwise would be when we're all together in person. Unfortunately, right now, this is the only way that we can safely sing together, and so we're really grateful for all of the courage and stamina it takes to get through this process. It requires a lot of frustration with technology and even possibly embarrassment sometimes when you're looking at yourself on camera, singing a part that is really supposed to be within the context of an entire choir, but all you're hearing is your voice. It is a very vulnerable experience, and we're really grateful that for many of you, you have taken charge and have waded into this new territory with us.
I know for myself that it's been a very humbling experience to have to watch myself and hear myself, and I had that experience of, wow, I sound terrible. And yet there's this miracle that happens when all of our voices meld in this kind of ritual electronic way. Yep. So Michelle and I wanted to say thank you, but also just to say, hey, here's a few things that we've thought about that might help you as you make your videos. Here's a few tips.
The first thing I want to talk about is camera stabilization. You don't have to buy a tripod, although they're very cheap, and if you get one, you'll probably be using it a lot. Maybe you have a way to securely mount your camera on a shelf next to some books. But if you want to get a tripod, here's some things I can recommend. You might get something like this, with these sorts of weird legs that holds your cell phone like that. This is the same sort of thing. I prefer something like this. This is an actual tripod, and it works much like a music stand in that this folds out like that, and then it has these sort of extensions, so it can be as short or as tall as you need it to be. And then, of course, once you have your camera in place, you can tilt it up and down however you like. This brings us to our next point, facing the camera. Yeah, it's super weird to sing into a camera, isn't it? What's preferable is that you're facing the camera when you film yourself. Also, that you're filming yourself from an angle which is about at eye level.
So like, this just never really looks good on anybody kind of coming up my nose. And as my daughter says, my nose is so big, you could stick a quarter up there. This is like the double whammy, up the nose plus terrible light.
If you can find a way to sort of mount your cell phone so that it's looking straight at you at head level, that's generally preferred. When we're singing in person, we often remind ourselves to look up out of our folders and make eye contact with the people we're singing in front of. This is no different. Now, I know it might be tricky depending on how well you know the score or where your score is mounted, what you're looking at, but if you're able to make eye contact with the camera, even if it's just a few times during the piece, that will make a huge difference in your ability to connect with people who are watching the video afterward. It's also generally helpful if you just tap the screen right before you record, which allows your smartphone camera to focus. Most cell phone cameras do this automatically, but just to get that extra crispy picture, if you just tap your face as it appears on the screen, that'll help you out. Let's talk about lighting and framing. As you can probably tell, there's a light in front of me, which is somewhat evenly dispersing light onto my face. This is generally preferred. You'll find that natural lighting is usually the best. So if you're filming during the daytime, see if you can film maybe in front of a window that's open or on your porch or somewhere where natural light is hitting your face. I'll show you a few things that work less well. A light directly behind you is generally not great. Or off to the side. This just feels like I'm about to tell a ghost story. Ooh. And last but not least, let's talk about the actual audio. When recording yourself, it's obviously preferable if you choose a location that doesn't have so much extra noise. Somewhere where there's not an oven beeping or some buzz or a cell phone going off or traffic. Also, if you're filming yourself with one of these that have a microphone built into the actual cord, it's really important that you don't fidget with the cord while you're filming. Otherwise, it'll sound something like this. I find that arm's length is generally pretty good.
Getting too close to the microphone can be kind of bad.
And also not on the other side of the room. You know, the signal will be way too weak for us to boost. The behind the scenes production of this is very time consuming. You can help us out tremendously by singing as rhythmically accurately as possible. Just like in-person singing, you don't have to hold a phrase its entire duration. If you don't have the breath support to hold a phrase its entire duration, that's perfectly fine. We're singing in a choir, there are other people who can carry that. But if your rhythm is all over the place, it is a nightmare for us to edit it afterwards. We've made click tracks for you to practice with for this very purpose. If you find that you're most accurate when singing along and recording yourself to the click track, use that. Again, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video and for taking these things into consideration. We look forward to seeing your video submissions. And again, this is weird.
We just want to say thank you too. One of the things I've thought a lot about is the ways in which it does allow the barriers between our churches to come down. And so I'm actually really excited to partner both with Michelle, but frankly, to get to meet and partner with all of you. It feels like a beautiful, intimate experience to actually get to hear all of your voices individually. And in some ways, I feel like I know all of you better in this time than I did when we were together. So
Amen.
thank you very much.
Amen. Thank you, guys.